Welcome friends, it is I, LostScarf, and it's time for the short Smite beginner guide to Hades, king of the underworld, and he's here to bring people down there because he wants to bring them to parties, you know? Nice dinner parties with barbecue. Lots of barbecue. Alright, so this is a beginner guide, so this is for beginners to get comfortable with the god Hades so they can understand him a bit better, so they can be comfortable with playing him, so they can have fun playing the god. Now there's going to be some ideas here so you have an idea how you might want to fight him as well, just from understanding how the god works. As always, advanced and expert players, there's probably nothing here for you, but if there's anything you feel that should be elaborated more on, go ahead and put that in the comments so that the beginners have more to read. As always, you can go over abilities, class and roles, tips and combos, purchases, and of course conclusions, so let's get going. Hades' abilities. First up is his passive Blight. What happens is when things are blighted, his other abilities do special things to them. Basic attacks also apply Blight. First ability is Death from Below. It's an underground leap that deals damage at landing, and if an enemy god has Blight on them, it slows them. It also applies Blight. Second ability, Shroud of Darkness. This is a cone that silences all enemies hit. If an enemy god has Blight, they are feared instead, and it applies Blight. His third ability is called Devour Souls. This is a small AoE attack around Hades that deals damage, and if it hits enemies that are blighted, that will heal Hades and his allies and also do detonation damage. This detonation damage does 50% damage to enemy gods, but it applies full damage to minions. And lastly is his ultimate, Pillar of Agony. Large AoE attack around Hades that pulls enemies and damages them 0.5 seconds over 4 seconds. Hades gains protections during this, and if an enemy god is blighted, they lose protections. This can be a very lethal move if done correctly. Also can be used for saving teammates because you're just pulling enemies away from them because they're stuck in your ult. Class and roles. So Hades is a guardian, which means he's a magical god capable of taking a lot of damage, dealing a lot of damage, and having more than one form of CC. In this case, Hades has the ability to slow, silence, fear, heal, and hold enemy gods in place with his ultimate in a fight. He has the ability to heal off detonation, which makes him a very difficult god to face in a lane, and he also has an escape, which you don't see on most guardians, which makes him even more annoying to deal with. Now when it comes to beginners, solo lane is the way to go with Hades. You get a blue buff and it's a safe lane for him because you only have to worry about the jungler gang for the most part, maybe mid, but for the most part, it's a one-on-one fight in the solo lane, and Hades can hold a lane almost indefinitely with his Shroud plus Devour Souls combo on waves. He can heal a lot from enemy waves, stay alive for a long time in here, and even if he does get ganked, he does have a leap to get away, so he's not really easy to deal with. And of course, if he can stall long enough, he can silence an enemy god or gods with his silence cone and then just get out of a bad situation. It is hard to lock down Hades if you know what you're doing with him. Most of the time when you're fighting one-on-one in the solo lane, you'll be bullying the enemy god out of the lane back to the tower, which does leave you open for ganks, but again, you do have ways of getting out of that. And when it comes to team fights, you're just going to be very annoying with your large silence and your ability to grip the enemy team with your ultimate. Now for advanced players, it would be mid, and it's just like solo, except it's not as safe, and also you have to worry about the mid harpies, and you don't have a blue buff, but luckily, Hades is very mana efficient, so as long as you play smart and do things correctly in the lane, you should be able to perform well there as well. Now when it comes to team fights, it's about the same thing as solo. You're farming up in the first half of the match, so you're just really annoying the second half, to the point that the enemy gods are going to just hate you when they fight you. Tips and combos. First up is Blight Everything. Just Blight everything because all your abilities have different things that use Blight, so you just want to Blight everything you can, just to make your life easier. Another tip is save leap for escapes or kill secures. That's just how it is with any leap, to save it, because you can apply Blight with your one, but it's a dangerous thing to do, so you should really just save it for when you need to use it. Another is Cone Silence is great for Blight setup and saving lives. That is, you can Blight a bunch of things so you can just do really good later on with your other abilities, or you can just silence a target so that they don't kill a teammate. Sometimes a teammate might be low on HP, silencing a target to prevent them from getting a kill can be very helpful there. Another tip is always 2+3, rarely 1+3. The idea here is you do your Shroud into your Devour Souls. That's a really good combo there, and it keeps your escape from being used. You can use your escape as a means of blighting, but it's just not as safe as using 2-3 instead, so that's why that's a tip. Another tip is just try to blight and detonate as many things as possible for maximum damage and heal. And lastly, ultimate is good for holding enemy gods down for setup kills or to save teammates' lives. Just like kind of with the Cone of Silence, you can do a lot of things with your ultimate. You can just hold down the enemy team if they're chasing teammates, or you can hold them in place for teammates to come and kill. So that's really what you can do there. Now this last tip might be a bit advanced, but it's a very important tip. That is, catching enemy gods in the center of your ultimate if they have beads 1 or 2. If you catch them in the center of it and you hit them with the ultimate, beads 1 will not be long enough for them to get out of your ultimate. Beads 2 might be, unless you caught them in the right way, that they barely don't get out in time and they're stuck in your ultimate for the full duration. It's really nice, you just have to do it correctly. Now when it comes to combos, there are kind of 4 combos. It's a bit complicated. The first one is the bread and butter combo of 2+3, blighting waves, devouring all of them, destroy waves, and heal well. It's just really good for you. Now these other ones have to do with ultimate. One is basic plus ult plus 2 plus 3 plus 1. The idea here is this is a one-on-one combo. You hit someone with a basic for the blight, then you ult on them so they don't have much protection on them because it's been reduced by the blight on there. Then when the ultimate is over, you hit them with the shroud silence so they're blighted again, then hit them with the 3 to just blow them up and do more damage. And then if they leap away or just try to get away, you can also hit them with a 1 for more damage and slow them down or just beat them up some more and maybe kill them that way, or just keeping the fight going even longer. Now an alternative combo is going 2-3 basic, ult 1, and the idea here is if there's a group of things to hit, you do the cone, hit them with the detonate, and then you do a basic to at least reduce someone's protections when you do the ultimate, and then you do a 1 if you have to chase to get a kill, or get the 1 to get the hell out of there. And lastly is 2 ult basic plus 3 plus 1. The idea here is you're coning a group with blight and then you ultimate. So now you're reducing your protections of a bunch of enemies so that they're all getting beat up, and then when that's over, you basic in 3 so that you at least get somebody with the detonate, which will hurt everyone and heal you up, and then use 1 to get away or finish someone off, depending on the situation. Purchases for Hades. Now because you'll be in lane a lot for the most part with Hades, you can consider getting stacking items on him. You'll be killing a lot of minions, so it's not a bad worth item to get on him. Even too if you really feel like you're going to be in lane a lot for whatever situation. Now if the enemy gods are really squishy, you can go for power, but if the enemy gods are pretty strong, you should probably go for defensive items on Hades, keep him alive even longer, make him more annoying so that you can do a lot of CC to save teammates or just set up enemy gods. Not a bad idea there. You at least want 1 pen item and 1 lifesteal item. The pen item just so you're hitting a bit harder, and if you have one that applies a passive pen, then it can help out teammates as well that are magical usually. And the reason for the lifesteal item is when you're doing an ultimate, if you get a big group of enemies in your ultimate, it'll keep you alive long enough to go through the entire ult if you can, so that you can tie up enemy gods for a bad situation. Another thing you consider for him is offensive auras, because he's going to be close range, and a lot of the auras work at close range. And lastly, an active very much worth using on Hades, Shield of the Underworld. You're going to be putting yourself out there for bad situations. Shield of the Underworld will keep you alive for them, and it's just very helpful on him. In conclusion, Hades is a strong lane bully. He's just able to stick around for a very long time and push enemy gods back to their tower. This is because he's very mana efficient and capable of keeping himself alive by devouring the souls of minions. And there's a lot of minions to eat, so Hades is just going to be there all day. The first half of the match he's able to hold a lane all day unless he gets over-ganked, and the second half of the match he's able to hold an enemy team back the whole time with his silence and his ultimate, and then silence again, and then slows, and then just healing up teammates with detonation, and then he's just able to just be incredibly annoying. All you gotta do is understand your blight to make your enemies regret the night it was Hades they had to fight. So there you go, that right there is the guide. Share it with your buddies so they understand Hades more, and maybe some of them will want to play Hades and have fun with him. He's a very fun god to play. He's great in the lane, he's just very annoying to deal with, so you can be very annoying to your opponents. It's just fun to do that. So there you go, that right there is the guide for Hades. Up next is going to be Hebo, and that should be a lot of fun to go through. And after him will be Hell, even more fun. So, a couple mages coming up next. So, that is the guide for now. I had fun for watching. That's what's all about, isn't it? Having fun, please come by, and see you next time.